First World War. History and hidden secrets. In 1914, the world was on the brink of a conflict that would forever change the course of history. Known as the First World War or the Great War, this conflict involved over 70 million soldiers and caused the deaths of approximately 10 million people. But what really triggered this global catastrophe? Today, we will explore the secrets and stories behind the Great War, analyzing its causes, key events, the experiences of soldiers and women, and the consequences that shaped the 20th century. The triggering factors. To understand the Great War, we must go back in time. Tensions in Europe were already high due to national rivalries, military alliances, and an unprecedented arms race. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria was assassinated in Sarajevo by Gavrilo Princip, a Serbian nationalist. As British Prime Minister Herbert Asquith said, "War is the supreme question, the last resort of leaders." The alliances between the European powers, the Triple Alliance, Germany, Austria-Hungary, Italy, and the Triple Entente, France, United Kingdom, Russia, transformed the local conflict into a total war. Nationalist tensions, militarism, and imperial rivalries created an explosive environment, ready to erupt. Life in the trenches. One of the most devastating features of the Great War was trench warfare. Soldiers were trapped in inhumane conditions, in muddy trenches, under enemy fire, for months and years. The front lines stretched from the Belgian coast to Switzerland, creating a landscape of destruction. The trenches were infested with rats, diseases like trench fever and dysentery, and the constant fear of death. Every day was a battle for survival. A British soldier, Sergeant Major John McCrae, wrote the famous poem In Flanders Fields, which captures the pain and sacrifice of the soldiers. In Flanders Fields, the poppies grow, between the crosses, row on row. Technological innovations. The Great War saw unprecedented innovations in military technology. From the use of machine guns and heavy artillery to the first tanks and airplanes, the battlefield was changing. War was no longer just a matter of infantry formations. New technologies revolutionized combat strategies. Chemical weapons, such as mustard gas, introduced a new form of terror. During the Battle of Ypres in 1915, soldiers were caught off guard by a gas attack, causing unimaginable suffering. The German General Fritz von Lossberg stated, "Modern warfare is no longer a war of men, but a war of machines." Women in the war. With many men at the front, women took on crucial roles in society and the economy. They worked in factories, on farms, and as nurses, significantly contributing to the war effort. This period saw the emergence of a new female role that challenged traditions. The women in white, as the nurses were called, cared for the wounded in the battlefields and hospitals. Their dedication and courage were fundamental to the morale of the troops. As suffragist Emmeline Pankhurst wrote, "Women must prove their worth in every field, in wartime as in peacetime." The battlefronts. The war was fought on various fronts. The Western Front, characterized by static trench warfare, and the Eastern Front, where battles were fought over vast stretches of territory. The Italian Front, for example, saw fighting between Italy and Austria-Hungary, with bloody battles like Caporetto in 1917. The battles of Verdun and the Somme represent some of the bloodiest events of the war. Northern France sought to defend a symbolic stronghold. The Battle of the Somme, which began in July 1916, resulted in over 1 million deaths in 4 months, making it one of the deadliest battles in history. The British General Douglas Haig, after the Battle of the Somme, said, "I have never seen a battlefield so devastated." The entry of the United States. In 1917, the United States entered the war alongside the Allied powers. Their participation provided crucial logistical, financial, and military support, helping to change the course of the conflict. The reasons for the United States entry were multiple. The growth of indiscriminate German submarine warfare and the desire to ensure a safer world for democracy. President Woodrow Wilson described the war as a battle for democracy, and his intervention brought new energy to the Allied forces. Fresh and motivated American troops joined the fighting in 1918, contributing to a series of decisive victories. The end of the war. The war ended on November 11, 1918, with the signing of the armistice. However, its consequences would be felt for decades. The Treaty of Versailles in 1919 imposed harsh conditions on Germany, creating resentment and instability. The war reparations, territorial losses, and disarmament inflicted deep humiliation on the German people. The treaty, according to German politician Hermann Göring, led only to another war. The consequences of the war. The First World War marked a turning point in history, not only for its immediate consequences, but also for how it shaped the 20th century. It led to a radical change in the political landscape, with the fall of empires like the Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, and Russian. The ideas of self-determination and nationalism, promoted by Wilson, inspired independence movements around the world. However, the scars of the war fueled instability and tensions that led to future conflicts, including the Second World War. The legacy of the Great War. Today, the Great War is remembered not only for its atrocities, but also for the lessons it taught us. Monuments and memorials around the world commemorate the sacrifice of millions of men and women. The stories of soldiers, nurses, and families affected by the war continue to inspire artistic, literary, and cinematic works. By exploring the secrets and stories of the Great War, we can learn from the past to build a better future. The memory of this conflict reminds us of the importance of peace and understanding among nations, so that the atrocities of war may never be repeated. The First World War left an indelible mark on human history. With its battles, innovations, and consequences, it represented a crucial chapter in world history. Through understanding what happened, we can continue to honor the memory of those who fought and died and work for a future of peace and cooperation. Let us remember the sacrifices, listen to the stories, and learn from the lessons of the past. The Great War is not just a historical event, but a warning for future generations.